All right, it is Thursday night here, and free agency has hit a couple of days. We've already passed the Wednesday period where a lot of these teams have signed majority of their players. There's still a lot of free agents left to go, so this isn't like the most final, winners and losers here. But this is going to be a winners and losers of free agency. And here we go. I'm going to start off with the Chicago Bears. Let's go. Here we go. The Chicago Bears. It seems like this is a trend for them. They always typically win free agency a lot. Like the last 3 years, they've won free agency. And it's not even close. I mean, the Bears, right? They've addressed multiple holes on their team. And then they've signed some solid backups, depth pieces, and just overall good pickups, right? When you look at the biggest two, in my opinion, both from the Falcons, Drew Dalman, center, arguably a top 10 center in the league, top 3, top 5. He's a very good center, quality center. You got Grady Jarrett on a 3-year deal for pretty cheap, right? You got Dayo Odenigbo as well, 25 years old, to play edge. Get him in on a rotation. Play that edge. You still got Montez Sweat. You still got a lot of guys there on that defense who's really good, right? Olamide Zaccheaus, he's an extra wide receiver. You're probably going to look to upgrade that in the draft. And then what they did, trading for Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson, I feel like were just stud moves. Absolutely stud moves by the Chicago Bears in that front office. Jonah Jackson, when healthy, is a solid enough guard to play. Joe Thuney, All-Pro, Super Bowl champion. He's a very good guard. And I think the Chicago Bears won with that Joe Thuney, acquiring him for just a 4th-round pick. I think you do that every day. If you are the Bears, you're looking to keep Caleb Williams protected. And now in the draft, you're looking just to upgrade the skill positions, the running backs, the tight ends, the wide receivers, right? Because you clearly got most of what you wanted anyway, right? You got defense, you got edge, you got inside, and you got just offensive guard, center. The whole inside of that offensive line is covered. Boom. And you just don't have to worry about it at this point anymore. So I think what the Bears do now in the draft is going to be very crucial to them, potentially making a run in that NFC North. With the Lions here, you got the Packers here, you got the Vikings here, which we're going to talk about a little later. But, it seems like the Bears continuously win in free agency, and this one is no different. All right, for loser, I'm going to go to the AFC North here, and we have the Baltimore Ravens. They didn't do much. They didn't really do much. Jake Hummel, he's going to be a special teamer at best. Tylan Wallace re-signed for a year. Patrick Ricard and DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, that's pretty bland. Clear loser. The only reason why you would give them a decent enough grade here is because they re-signed Ronnie Stanley, which was a big key. But outside of Ronnie Stanley, who did they bring in? Who did they bring in that could potentially, make this team, to wow me for this free agency? In terms of free agency, they didn't do much. They only got DeAndre Hopkins, and that's a 1-year, $6 million deal. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be pretty mid on that team. They brought back Patrick Ricard. Didn't bring anybody through trades. Yeah, it's just going to be very bleak and bland, I feel, for this free agency for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, they're still a really good team. They're still going to be very good. But ultimately, it would have been nice to, see, if we could play with some more money here and potentially bring some impact players in the room. But, only Ronnie Stanley came back. So that's still a big plus. So the fact that Ronnie Stanley came back is something that they like. But I still categorize them as losers here in free agency. And this one, I feel like, could be a bigger winner than the Chicago Bears, in my opinion. You have the Minnesota Vikings. Big winner. Re-signing Aaron Judge. Huge. 2-year deal. He was really good in that offense. Let's see what he could do what he could do in an extra 2 years in that offense when he was on the Prove It deal. Will Freeze, 5-year, $88 million deal. Perfect, beautiful. The middle of your offensive line is looking spiffy right now. With Ryan Kelly added as well, 2 years, $18 million deal, only $9 million guaranteed. That's really good. Jonathan Allen, 3 years, $51 million. He had a great year in Washington, and they cut him for whatever reason, but they did. And so now you're just shoring up that D-line even more than it already shown that it could be. Then you got Javon Hargrave. When he's healthy, he's pretty damn good. But can he stay healthy? That's the thing. And then you got Jonathan Allen. You still got guys on the team. You could rotate in. I feel like the NFL is always, the good teams at least, they're always predicated on, can you sub guys out on the defensive line and keep them fresh enough to be able to rush a passer at an effective level. And so potentially they can still go inside in the draft. They can still draft defense. And it's going to be very interesting to see. They also kept Byron Murphy, re-signed him. Isaiah Rodgers brought him in and brought back Harrison Smith. There we go. This was just an amazing free agency for them. They got back the guys that they really needed to, but then they added guys that they really needed as well. And that the offensive line help for them, I feel, was the biggest improvement, right? 5 years, $88 million for Will Freeze, right? He's going to be a top guard, and he's going to be able to protect any quarterback who's there. J.J. McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers, we don't know, but he's going to be able to help and protect any quarterback that's there behind center. So that's really good. And they also shored up their defense and that D-line especially. So I give this at least an A. This is a great free agency haul for the Minnesota Vikings. All right, and now we have a loser. It's the 49ers. They lost so much. They lost so many players in this cycle of free agency. But then you would think they would try to regain what they lost. Demarcus Robinson, don't really do it for me. You know what I mean? Luke Farrell doesn't do it for me. Ben Barge, right? Like Richie Grant, ooh, right? It's just not Patrick Taylor and Mac Jones, right? Yeah, this is a L. Jason Pinnock, Giants legend Jason Pinnock. Yeah, this is a big fat L for me. It's just, self-explanatory. They lost so much. They traded away so much, and it looks like the run for the 49ers as top of the NFC could potentially come to a crashing end this year for good. The window could fully shut down. And this free agency just doesn't help them out whatsoever. And now we have another winner. It's the New England Patriots. They had a lot of money. They had over $120 million in cap space. And boy, did they spend. And I like this. For certain teams, if you have a ton of cap space, just spend the money, right? And get impact players. You have the money. You are attractive to these players, not only because you have the pedigree of the New England Patriots, but you got the cash to spend. And oh boy, they did. Woo! Where should I start? Milton Williams, 4 years, $104 million deal. $51 million fully guaranteed, $24 million signing bonus. He was the top, defensive lineman, a lot of people were saying, in this free agency cycle, and they signed him. They picked him up and they paid him a lot of money. They don't have really a lot of skill positions that are getting paid a lot, so they went heavy on defense. Harold Landry, 3-year, $43.5. K'Lavon Chaisson, a 1-year deal. Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis, Jalen Hawkins. There's a ton to like. And Morgan Moses on the offensive line. They brought in Mac Hollins to be a receiver. Joshua Dobbs to be a backup. Austin Hooper back on a 1-year deal. This just proves that what Mike Vrabel is trying to build. He's trying to build out that defense because the offense could come to when it comes to maybe next year, or they could potentially get some young skill pieces in the draft. You have Drake May, you have your future quarterback. Now it's time to put weapons around him in the draft. Potentially you can get a Travis Hunter. He could play offense and defense, right? You could potentially get a running back in the second round, right? And then just keep drafting wide receiver, tight end, offensive lineman, right? Just keep getting those guys on offense because you already you've helped out your defense so much with this free agency. This right here is a winner. You had the money and you spent it. Good job, New England. Now here, this might be controversial. I have them as a loser, Seattle Seahawks. The talent that they brought in, specifically on offense, does not equate to what they lost. They brought in Sam Darnold, but they traded away Geno Smith. I agree with this because Sam Darnold had a ton of upside, and he had a really good year last year. But how much is that predicated on he had Justin Jefferson, he has Kevin O'Connell, which, by the way, Kevin O'Connell's offenses just seem to work for anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It could be me behind center, and it will work. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, we're not really prioritizing receiver now, are we? DeMarcus Lawrence, he's decent. That's a decent deal. You know, you re-signed Ernest Jones and Jaron Reed. You went heavy on the defense. Josh Jones, you know, fringe starter for them. But in terms of just what they lost and what they brought in on offense, yeah, it just doesn't hit for me. And I'm sorry, Seattle. You lost this free agency, but you got a young QB. But with what weapons is he going to throw to now? Will he even look good in this offense? And now he could be the one scapegoated because you gave him $100 million, but you also gave away DK and you lost Tyler Lockett. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But, you know, in terms of this, they lost. All right, I got a winner, a sneaky winner, in my opinion. The Houston Texans, right? They had needs all over the place. And it looks like they're probably going to address some of those needs in the draft. But they knew that Tank Dell was out, and they just brought in receivers. They were like, fuck it, we're going to bring in as many receivers as we possibly can to try to just substitute what Tank Dell did for us. We still have Nico Collins. We're not bringing back Stephon Diggs. And we're bringing in Braxton Berrios, Christian Kirk, Justin Watson. Boom, boom, boom. We're signing guys. Mario Edwards, Sheldon Rankins. Boom, boom. Nick Neiman. Boom. Laken Tomlinson. Boom. C.J. Gardner-Johnson via trade. Kenyon Green. He sucks. Boom. I feel like they just signed a ton of guys. Derek Barnett as well. Darrell Taylor. Boom. I feel like they brought back a ton of guys with value, and they've also traded for some guys with value. And potentially they could still upgrade within the draft with wide receiver, with O-line, with edge, with linebacker, with defense. They can still upgrade in the draft. And I think they just brought in a ton of pieces, right? They did this a couple years ago with C.J. Stroud's rookie year, just bring in a ton of guys who are able to come in and play, you know, meaningful snaps, right? Justin Watson, he's not a bad receiver, right? Christian Kirk, not a bad receiver, right? Derek Barnett bringing him back. A pretty solid starting edge, right? Sheldon Rankins, a solid starting defensive lineman, right? Nick Neiman, he could play downs for you. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a pretty decent safety as well. I think they brought in players and they were like, you know what, let's get bodies in the room. And I like this approach. Get bodies in the room. We have the money. We have a window to keep hold of this division in the weak AFC South. I mean, it's very weak. We have a chance to stay on top of this division. Let's just bring in guys to fill in the holes for now, and let's draft young guys and then develop them. I like this strategy from the Texans. They're a winner. All right, and I know we already covered 3 NFC North teams, but both of those were winners. This is a loser. It's the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Banks on a 4-year, $77 million deal. Nate Hobbs, pretty good corner. Pretty good corner. We'll see where he plays on the boundary or in the slot for them, so we'll see about that. But outside of that, they didn't do anything. I feel they didn't get the stud wide receiver they want. They didn't get any stud offensive lineman. They didn't get any stud defensive lineman. They just kind of saw Aaron Banks and was like, okay, we got money. Here you go. Yeah, I think this is a big overpay. I don't think Aaron Banks is that good to warrant $77 million. But hey, who do I know? I am not a GM, but I am a commentator. So I am commentating on the Green Bay Packers, and I commentate that you lose this free agency cycle. You still have a pretty good team. But in terms of bringing in that number one wide receiver that you may have could have brought in, right? You still could bring in a wide receiver like a Stephon Diggs, potentially could be an option. But in terms of getting the big guys, you haven't done it. And this free agency for me just isn't cutting it out for what you brought in for what you could have got. So this right here is a loss. We have a winner. Denver Broncos. Evan Ingram. Boom. Pretty good in Jacksonville when healthy. And they get tight end help. They desperately needed tight end help. You cannot stress this to the Broncos enough. They needed somebody at tight end. DJ Jones, solid defensive lineman. Solid nose tackle. Dre Greenlaw, a great pickup. Excellent pickup. He's a great linebacker. You know, the injury may have sidelined him a little bit, and, you know, being on that 49ers defense, you know, recently hasn't been, you know, too fulfilling. But he's still a really good linebacker in this day and age, and only got him for $35 million. That's a steal, right? Talanoa Ufunga, $45 million with $20 million guaranteed, 3-year deal. If he stays healthy, this is such a big win for your defense. The guys that they brought in, for me, outweigh whatever they could have done, right? They brought in Trent Sherfield, 2-year deal, whatever. And then they could still potentially upgrade wide receiver, get young skill position in the draft, upgrade running back in the draft, right? This running back room is amazing, right, this year in the draft class. So they're probably going young skill positions in the draft, speaking with what they did on defense. So, you know, just shout out to the Denver Broncos. They made the playoffs last year, and they looking to continue to upgrade that defense and get some star key playmakers, both from the 49ers, on this free agency cycle. This is a win for me. How about them Cowboys? Because they, I mean, you know, the Cowboys just aren't hitting the same, you know, this go around. They haven't really, you know, signed that big free agent in a while. And, you know, it's a lot of homegrown talent, but Javonte Williams to play running back, they're definitely drafting that, right? Peyton Turner, 1 year, $3 million, did not pan out with the Saints at all. It's only a 1-year deal. Osa Odigizua, 4-year, $80 million contract. Pretty good. He's a pretty solid defensive lineman. Kenneth Murray. Right. Kyer Elam. Right. CJ Goodwin. Oh, you know, it's just very. They could have done more, I feel like, but nobody wanted to go there. Nobody wants to play for Jerry Jones. Nobody wants to play for this team. So I could see why they're losers, because nobody wanted to be the Dallas Cowboys. But how about them? They're going to win the Super Bowl next year, guaranteed. How about them Cowboys? Yeah. They're losers. And for me, the last winner is the Buffalo Bills. Not only did they bring back Khalil Shakir and also Josh Allen on a very team-friendly deal, I might add. $250 million guaranteed. You had to keep him. He wants to be a Buffalo Bill. You got to keep him in the room. Greg Rousseau re-signed, 4 years, $80 million. Kind of cheap. He's very good. Larry Ogunjobi they brought in on a 1-year deal. Michael Hoyt, 3-year contract, $24 million. Rotational edge, beautiful. Joey Bosa, 1 year. Rotational edge at this point in his career. He's too injury prone. You can't keep him. So I think what they're doing is they're doing exactly what the Eagles did. They're loading up on defensive linemen, and they're going to be able to keep fresh guys in every single down because you have 8 of them who are decent enough to start, but you have some of them coming off of the bench and coming in on certain downs, right? Joey Bosa could be a designated edge rusher, just rushing the passer on 3rd down. Michael Hoyt to be the guy potentially to set the edge, and Greg Rousseau to potentially rush the passer. He's your every down defensive end. Josh Palmer, 3-year, $36 million deal. Not bad. He's solid to be a wide receiver 3 or 4 in this offense. I don't mind that. And they brought Darrynton Evans. Not bad. Backup running back. Ty Johnson, they re-signed. Backup. They're just pretty solid with their depth, I feel. Right? They don't have that big star on offense besides Josh Allen and James Cook in the wide receiver room specifically. But Khalil Shakir has emerged as a very valuable option for Josh Allen. So I'm not mad at this. They probably could target a wide receiver in the draft if they really feel the need is there. They'll probably target corner in the draft as well because the need is there. And they also are a winner because they got rid of Von Miller. Addition by subtraction. Boom, boom, Von Miller. You're gone. Goodbye. But I feel like this is setting them up. And they brought back DeMar Hamlin. Shout out. I feel like this is going to be also a skill position draft, right? You're getting the premier positions, the flashy positions, right? You're getting the corners. You could get the wide receivers. You're going to get the dirty positions like defensive line and O-line, right? Just because they got Larry Ogunjobi doesn't mean they're not going to, try to bring in a guy on the defensive tackle spot, right? So we'll see, but the Buffalo Bills for me are winners, and this has been my winners and losers of free agency. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed my insight. And tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you guys agree, you don't agree. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.